Hi everyone, this is Debbie at Color Everywhere, and today, no color, all white. I'm continuing some work on my Christmas ornaments that I'm making for my own tree, and I just wanted to come on and just for a few minutes work on some, just so you know I'm still doing it. And because of the nature of the ornaments, they're white. Sometimes they're difficult to see on screen. Today they're looking pretty good. You can see that pretty well. But sometimes they're hard to see. So, and sometimes some of it's tedious. I mean, it takes a long time to sew on all the beads and all the spangles and what have you. So I'm trying to just do short videos and then coming back to show you what I've done. So today we're going to be working I'm going to be working on the rocking horse. And he gets a tail and a mane and different things. But I got to this point and I wanted to show you how the tail goes on and how I stuffed the skinny part and things like that. So we're going to be looking at that. But what I wanted to do first I'm going to show you these. I finally found these in a box, some that were done before. I've been doing these for years, since the 70s, and usually they're done in color. So hi Arlene. So here's a snowman. He's got his little dot, pretty stuffed. He's pretty stuffed, and that gives him a lot of body. So there he is, and then here's a gingerbread man. I probably made more gingerbread men than anything, because people used to order them by the dozen. So there's the gingerbread man, and he's an older one. The ones that I made more recently, instead of circles for their cheeks, they have hearts, and that looks really cute too. So there are two. He is very stuffed. He is a gingerbread man who needs to go on a diet. He is so stuffed. But anyway, so there's just an example of some of the colored ones. Oh, thanks, Arlene. I appreciate it. You can come back and watch later if you want. It won't be that long. So also wanted to show you the book again, because it's in the first video at the beginning of the series, but I wanted to show it to you again for those who don't want to go all the way back and look. So this book is, and what did I say it was, from 1970 something, 72 or 78, or where is that? I know it's in here. Here we go. Let's see. Originally 1973, and the last one was 1978, which is, oh no, that was, let's see. Oh, here it is, the copyright, 1978. I'm pretty sure 1978 is when I would have purchased it. So I've been making these since then. And the name of it is A Farm Journal Craft Book, Scrap Savers Stitchery Book. And it has a lot of designs in it. Her name is Sandra Lounsbury Foos. I'll show it up close. I'd show you on the cover, but it's ripped. So this is one of her books. She has several different ones. And this one has these ornaments in it. Here you can see where they've been made into tree ornaments, hanging tree ornaments. Here's the little rocking horse that we're making. He's going to be just a little bit different. That's not going to focus, I guess. He's going to be just a little bit different. They're all just a little bit different, because sometimes I can combine pieces instead of, making them a different color or whatever. But yeah, that's basically what they are. And then here it is. She's used them to make a wall hanging. So that's all of I think that's all of them on there, except for the gingerbread man. And he is in another pattern. I think it's in this book. And I decided to make him about the same size as the rest of them. And I've made several things out of this book. Now I don't even see him. He might be in a different book, but I thought he was in this one. He might still be in there. So anyway, this is the book. I looked it up. You can still get them online used for $5 or $6. I don't know what the shipping would be, but it has a lot of different patterns in it that are all really cute. So there you go. Just wanted to share that again. So I'm going to move this tray out of the way. Here are the ones that we've worked on already. The teddy bear, the mouse. These aren't finished yet. I'm working on them. I'm trying to start a new one or two every month and then working on them all as I go. And the cat, let me put this back to where it was so you can see. Okay. And there's the cat, and they've got some lace, some beads, some trim, some embroidery, sequins, and so on. So they're all going to be similar, similar. Well, I can't get it out. They're all going to be decorated alike. Let's just say that. And this one's a wreath. So these are the ones I've already started. I'm going to lay them aside. I'm going to lay my tray aside. Let's see here somewhere. Here we go. And then I'm going to bring this back out. You know, we can see that better on that blue. I might leave that here because I think it knocks off some of the glare. Yeah, that's much better. And then I'm going to enlarge this just a little bit more because it is hard to see. And maybe this will help. I go through this every time. Okay. I hope that doesn't make you seasick. All right, so what I've done so far is I started up here and I've done a blanket stitch. There's two pieces, the front and the back. The first thing I did actually was stitch the extra pieces on there. Now see, it still doesn't look as good. Maybe I'm too close. I'll try this. It's the best we can do. So what I did first was I stitched the little pieces on. So here's the little saddle. Come on, Light, just do me a favor. Here's the saddle. Here are the hooves. They're stitched on. So I stitched those pieces first onto the front, just on the inside. I didn't stitch around the outside edge. And started up here, stitched all the way around, all the way down, and stopped right here. Then I went to the inside and stuffed this leg, stitched it up, stitched all the way around to here. Then I came over here and started here again and came around and stitched all the way to here. Then I stuffed this leg and stitched up to this point. So that's where I'm at now. Now the reason I left this open down here, the reason I stopped at these 2 points is because this is a very narrow little channel and I want to stuff it, but I have to have one side already stitched, or I won't have anything to stuff it against, if that makes sense. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to put the tail on. And the tail normally, what have I done with my patterns? Oh, here they are. Let me show you. No. That's what happens. Oh, here they are. The tail normally is, I'm using felt, and these are made out of felt. Even the colored ones are made out of felt. And normally the horse looks like this. So he has a felt tail that is a different color, and it's inserted into the body. Same thing with the mane, that's inserted into the body. But I'm going to use lace instead for the tail and the mane, because I kind of want to have some lace on each piece, and that's where it looked like it would work the best on this piece. So that's the point I'm at, and I happen to have a piece of lace. Is that it? Nope, this is it. This was all one piece of lace, when I started, and I just cut it apart, and I've used it on different parts, like you can see it here on the wreath. There's lace on there. So I found this piece and cut it so that it looks like, cut off everything that didn't look like a tail is what I basically did. Hi, Melody. You're looking at the river, checking in with me. I hope you're having a good time, enjoying your time away. So I've cut this out, and he's going to be right here where his tail is supposed to be. So I think that'll add to that. I think inserted is where it needs. So I need to stitch around to about where my thumbnail is. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm just doing a blanket stitch like I've been doing all along. And it gives it a nice little finish and brings the edges together. Of course, if you get a knot, that makes it harder. There we go. And sometimes pieces are in the way, so you just have to work around them like this here. It's easy to get hung up on. Let me see if I can do this where you can see it. Just snagged a pin and it went flying. Who knows where. And this is really fairly quick. You know, it doesn't take a long time. I try to make my stitches fairly even so they look nice. And I expect to use these for a while. I mean, you know, if you go to this much work to make a set of ornaments, you want to be able to use them for a couple years at least. Move these pins before I snag them again. And because they're small, it requires smaller stitches. All right, so now I'm going to take my piece of lace. I'm going to insert the tip the way I want it to look. I think I kind of want it to, my language is so poor anymore. I want it to kind of do like that, I think. It's going to be a little floppy. You know, I thought about putting a piece of felt on the back of it. I still might do that. Let's see. I think I probably should, because otherwise it's going to be really floppy. It's not going to stand up pretty. So I think I'm going to take time real quick and stitch this on. Sometimes you just got to do stuff like that when it comes up. I need a bigger piece because I want this little piece on there too. And it's actually going to be pretty quick and easy. It's just a matter of tacking it on there more or less. This is very thin thread. It's actually embroidery machine thread, because I wanted to use it because it's very thin and it doesn't show, and I'm using it with a beading needle. It's so thin that the knot goes through, so I'm just going to make a knot. There's a knot there, but if I pull it, it's going to go through that felt again. So I'll just make a little knot right here to start. Okay. Now I'm just going to go around the edges. And this is the same way I put a piece of applique lace on too. The same thing. Same way I do it on wedding dresses and what have you. Use a thin thread that matches. Of course, if this was off-white, I'd be using off-white, and then I'm just sort of doing an overstitch on the edge. Keeping it close enough to where you won't see any gaps, but you can't see this thread anyway. There's so many threads on the piece of lace that this doesn't even show up. And what I'm doing is coming straight up going straight down right beside where I came up and then moving over a little ways and coming out again. And that makes my stitch on the edge almost disappear. Now at this point, gosh, I know that is so hard to see. I don't know what to do about it. I really don't. Let me find a, where's the brown paper? I've been having a little bit more luck using a brown paper background, which I have laying here somewhere. Let's try this. Ah, I think that's better. Woohoo. Thanks, Melody. I hope you do too. We'll see you when you get back. So this is actually net in this little area here, and it kind of holds it all together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the design instead of the edge, because if I follow the edge, I'd be coming up this way. So I'm just going to follow this to kind of give it a little bit more stability, and just come on around. And I know you can't see the stitches because I certainly can't see them. But they're there. I'm making them. And it will hold down. And then when I get through stitching this down, I'll trim around the edge of the design, and it'll just give it that white background, the felt that'll be a little bit stiffer. And the tail will stand out hopefully, instead of flopping over. So I think that will look prettier. Okay, so now I'm back to this side. I started here and just follow the design around. Finish this up real quick. I'm not keeping my stitches real close together, but just enough so that it doesn't look floppy or whatever. They're probably between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch apart. And then if you get in certain areas it needs a little bit more, then you just make the stitches closer together. And with felt, it has enough of a loft. The felt is thick enough to where it sort of embeds the lace on the edge. The thread pulls it really tight, so it looks like it's actually part of the felt. It looks like it's, you know, stitched onto the felt, basically, instead of appliqued onto the felt. And I'm just going to follow the edge now. If I think it's too loose in the middle, I'll probably come back and go around here and just take a stitches up the middle. That way it makes it hold together a bit more, and it makes it a little stiffer. Every time you put another stitch, it adds body. If I wanted the body to be really strong, you know, so it didn't bend very much, I would do a whole lot of stitches really close together, and that would give it so much body that it would be really stiff. I don't think I'm going to have to do that though for this. The other thing I could have done, I could have embedded some stiffener in there, like you would use in clothing. Or I could even have used some of this stuff that I use for my patterns. It's like a Pellon, which is a stiff facing, interfacing. Now when I get to this little piece that's sticking out, I'm going to make smaller stitches because it's just out there all by itself and I want it to be real secure. I'm doing it in the same way. I'm just, following the design. Just making my stitches a little bit more closer together, a little bit closer together. It's not difficult, just takes a little bit of time. Sometimes things get a little fiddly, but that's true with almost anything you do, especially if it has to do with stitching. I'm pulling my thread pretty tightly. I don't want it to bunch up, but I want it to be as tight as it could be and still lay flat. Almost back around to the beginning, then I can trim it and we can put the tail on the rocky horse. Oh. These beading needles are so thin, you can really stab yourself if you're not careful. Because they just go right in, just like a small hypodermic needle. Some of them are so tiny you can't even feel it. Oh, I'd rather stick myself with one of these instead of jamming a bigger needle under my thumbnail. Ooh, boy, does that hurt. Been there, done that. Okay, here we are back at the beginning. And I think I'm going to go ahead and just do a running stitch through the center here, just to make it a little more substantial. You cannot see this. I'm going along a line, an existing line of thread already that's there already, so you really can't even tell. I thought about putting some beads or something on here, but I think it would make it too heavy and it wouldn't stand up as nice. So I won't be doing that. Okay, I'm going to cut this. And then I'm going to trim around it. And I'm just going to trim closely, but not too close because I've got stitches going around there. Now I could have used glue and glued this on, and that also would have made it a little stiffer. But this will be fine. Once I get this cut, then I can look at the back and cut it closer wherever I can. because I can see the stitches on the back. I can't see them on the front. I could have been in Mexico right now, in Riviera Maya, for a week. Kids left this morning, and we decided not to go this time. We're going to wait and go in October when they go back. So I know you can't see this. Maybe you can a little bit. Let's see. You can see where the stitches are on the back, barely, where those indents are. But that's all I'm doing is trimming it as close as I can without cutting into those stitches. I think I'll just find the horsey. Okay, so now I'm going to put this in here. Yeah, that's a lot better. That's a lot stiffer. So now this is a little trickier because I have to stitch around this tail. So I'm going to start right under the tail, and I have to grab my thread. And from here on, I have to go through, I have to make sure I catch everything in there. And since I can't do a blanket stitch around it, I'm going to fake it. Bring my thread up. Let's see, I have to remember how I do this. Yeah, I'm going to go from the front and bring my thread up where I would normally bring it up. So what I'm doing is a blanket stitch, but I'm sort of doing it on the top of everything. Where normally the blanket stitch would be around the edge, I'm faking it, is basically what I'm doing. So normally I would be coming up from underneath, but I'm going to go in the top where my next place would normally be. Go down. Try not to get knots. Then I'm going to come up, make sure everything's getting caught without tangling. So I've caught the back piece, I've caught the center piece, and I've got the front piece. So now I can do the blanket stitch part. Same thing, I'm going down. Getting tangled again. Then I'm coming back up, making sure I catch everything, and it's getting away from me, so I gotta get that in there where it goes. It's fiddly. It certainly is. There. And one more. Okay, now, uh-oh, I missed. Missed my thread. Okay. Now I'm going to go through there one more time because I want to make sure it's nice and tight. And this time I'm just totally doing the normal stitch around the top of the tail. Okay. There's his tail. It's not going anywhere. Now I have to start stuffing the body. And I'm just using regular fiber fill. I'm just using small pieces at a time because that's all I need. My legs are already stuffed. And as I'm stuffing, I'm pushing it down in there, but I'm trying to be real careful not to stretch the felt. Because if I stretch the felt, then the shape will get out of whack and it won't look nice. And I'm also going to I don't know if that's going to work. Let me find something better. Here, this will work. I'm also going to push it down just a tiny bit into the leg, because there's like a little space there at the top of the leg, so it's not stiff. I don't want to get too much because then it'll look deformed. So you saw I just put a very small amount of stuffing in there. And I think that's for that area. Right now I'm just doing the area that I'm getting ready to stitch closed. Needs a tiny bit more, just a tiny bit. All it takes. I'm pushing it into his behind over here, carefully, trying not to stretch anything. Okay. Now the idea is to hold this together so everything's where it's supposed to be, so that it's not crooked. I want it to be, everything to be lined up. And then I can go ahead and do some more blanket stitch around here. Now this actually has 2 layers, the saddle, the front, and the back. So I'm going through 3 layers all together to hold it together. I always try to pull my my blanket stitches nice and snug because they'll sort of seat themselves. They'll sort of sink into the felt and seat themselves. And I don't want any loose pieces on the top. I don't want to leave any loops. So I pull it pretty snugly and just keep going. I'm not too worried about how even the stitches look on the back. I mean, I could every time I stitch do this back and forth, but I'm not going to do that because, especially with this white on white, it doesn't stand out that much even if the stitch isn't exactly even. My goal is that it looks even on the front. So I try to get my stitches the same length, about the same amount apart, and just eyeballing it, but just so they're not wildly different. And every once in a while I might have to poke the stuffing down just to get it out of the way. I'm using a really big needle because my hands cramp up really bad if I use a small one. The big needle gives me something to hold on to better. And that's just part of getting old and getting arthritis and all that kind of stuff. And it's actually, I'm actually using a, what are they called? Quilt basting needle. So it's big. Let's see, how big is it? It is 2 3/4 inches long. Plus I needed a eye that was big enough for this pearl cotton. Okay, so now there's the body, looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going all the way up to his ears. Now I have to decide if I'm going to make his mane. I'm going to make his mane the same way as his tail, or if I'm going to use thread for his mane. That looks awfully big. I don't know which way I want to go. Kind of like that curl right there. I think I'm going to use thread. Give him a flowy mane. I don't know. I have to think about it. I don't like these pieces. Let me find some other, see if I can find a better shape of lace for that. And it has to be white. Not really seeing anything right off. No, I think it needs to be thread. So I'm going to go ahead and stuff this, and then I'll do the thread after. So I can stuff his face. And his neck. I'm not going to stuff his ears. They can be flat. Okay, that looks about right. So I'm just going to continue from where I stopped. I could have made his tail fibers too, but I thought that lace would look pretty. So I'm just continuing with my blanket stitch all the way up to where I started. Okay. Now that looks pretty evenly stuffed. So I can end this off. Just knot it at the back, a very tiny knot. And then bury my thread. Now I still have to stuff the bottom. It's looking pretty good. I kind of wait and do my beading after the stuffing because it just seems to work better. It's a little more stable. And so what I've been doing is just taking a thin piece and rolling it up the best I can, and then sticking it in there. Now I want to put just the tiniest bit in the end, if it will fit. Back in the day when I used to make dolls, I went through bags and bags and bags of stuffing. I made 24-inch dolls one year and sold, oh my gosh, so many of them. And they took 8 hours each to make, and that did not include making the clothes. So I was making dolls and making dolls. And then after Christmas, didn't sell another one. It was really strange. But they were very cute. They were personalized, so the buyer could pick the hairstyle, the skin color, and just all that kind of stuff. So they were pretty popular. I'm kind of stuffing into the leg too, just to make it stiffer. I could have started at one end and stuffed a little bit and sewn a little bit, but I'm going to try to stuff it first and do all the sewing at one time. See if that'll work. Okay. Yep, that still needs a little bit. I think the ladies that are doing felting, these would be cute patterns to follow. because they're very cute designs to start with. They're not large. They would be pretty easy, I think, to felt. I mean, yeah, I guess that's what you call it. Because they're pretty much flat, you know. And you can make them as dimensional as you would want. So I think they would be good candidates for needle felting, which I don't do. I understand the process, but I haven't tried it. And this only needs to be stuffed enough to give it a little bit of body, and so that it doesn't just flop around. I haven't stuffed it as full as it could get, but you saw how fat you saw Fatty over here, how fat he was. See, look at the difference. Oops, if I can turn it right. He's quite a bit fatter. And he's been in the cookie dough, I think. So I'm just going to continue with my blanket stitch and keep poking my fiber fill down in there so it's out of the way. This doesn't feel like it has enough in there. I'm just taking very small pieces. I mean, that's really like almost a pea size piece. Let's see if I can stuff it in there. There. That's better. There we go. So when I do the blanket stitch, it really pulls the sides together. It sort of locks them together in place. I'm feeling to see if it feels even. And right there's a spot, so let me move some of that. Just sort of tucking it in there. Been thinking about planning a weekend in Kentucky. We used to pull a travel trailer and go somewhere about every other weekend. And we like bluegrass music and that kind of thing, and country music, old country music. I'm not crazy about the new stuff. I like the old stuff much better. But we'd go to this place by Kentucky Dam Village. I'm trying to think what the city is. I'm so bad about remembering things like that. But it's near Kentucky Dam Village. And it's called Kentucky Opry. And we used to love going there. So if we were camping in the area, we'd usually go. They used to have shows on Saturday nights, and it was a real family oriented type thing. So we enjoyed it, and they had all kinds of music. They had rock and roll and rockabilly and bluegrass and gospel, and it was really good. And we haven't been in several years. So I was just thinking the other day it'd be fun to go. I haven't even looked at their schedule yet, but they have some shows. They have some free shows. I think they have a free bluegrass show once a month or something, and they have shows where it's all young people. They the owners, they really support young people coming up in the business. And they have some very talented sons themselves who I don't think are there regularly, but they are there sometimes, who play and are just real talented. So it's a family-run business. So I think I'm going to look it up and see what shows they have coming up, see what's going on, and maybe go stay at the Dam Village, Kentucky Dam Village. It's like a resort park. Have a golf course, and of course it's right there on the water. Sometimes they have sailboats out there. They have a great place to eat. It's pretty nice. We like it. The only way it's going to happen is if I plan it and say, okay, this is when we're going. He goes so much when my daughter's travel group is running like it should be. He goes on every trip as their tour guide. So he gets to see everything. I mean, he goes to Branson several times a year and goes and sees all the big shows and all that kind of stuff. He'll be going to Alaska next year. And I've decided not to go because it's even though she's gotten really good prices, I'd rather go to Cancun. So I don't go as much as he does. So I try not to pick things that he's done recently so he doesn't get burnt out. I think they're doing a mystery trip to Kansas City pretty soon. Kansas City, Missouri. I haven't even asked what it is either. This is making my fingers hurt from holding it so tight. Probably tighter than I need. But gotta get a grip. Get a grip. Thank you. I have one already. so many things I can't do when we go on trips like that because I can't, I can't walk very far. And but now I have a scooter, so I can hopefully enjoy those things. This summer, I want to take advantage of some things in St. Louis, like the art museum and things like that I haven't been to in a very long time, and the botanical gardens and all that. And most of those places have wheelchairs that you can use or rent, but I don't want somebody to have to push me around. And it's easier. It's easier, and I enjoy it more if I can get myself around and look at what I want to look at. I don't have to say, "Here, turn me in that direction so I can see that." I want to be free to do it myself. It's a lot more fun that way. So I've kind of been putting off going until I got my scooter, and I got it last fall, at the end of the fall. So I'm kind of excited to do some of those things that normally I put off doing. So far, we have done one thing. We went and saw the Sistine Chapel display, and I enjoyed that really well. So St. Louis has so many. We're about an hour south of St. Louis, and St. Louis has so many things to do for kids as well as adults. They have Forest Park, which is where the 1904 World's Fair took place. So that's where the art museum and the history museum. Um, there's one for what's that one called? War Museum or something like that. I can't think of what it's called. There's a jewel box, which is a flower place. You can go and see beautiful, beautiful flowers in season. Then we've also had the botanical gardens, which is beautiful. We have a wonderful zoo. There's the arch and all that goes with that. There's just so many things to do in St. Louis, and we don't really take advantage of them like we should. There's a lot of things in St. Louis I haven't even seen. I think my husband's been to the arch. I don't even know. Every time somebody comes to town, he takes them to see the arch because everybody wants to see the arch. And then there's the cathedral there by the arch, which is beautiful. So there's just so many things to see and do in St. Louis. And I would like to take more advantage of them than I do. Okay, so he's together. Now he needs his mane. So now I have to figure out what thread I'm going to use. I think his mane's going to have to wait because I could use this pearl cotton, I guess. It's not very heavy though. Maybe I just don't have anything else here right now. So that's too thin. I don't think I want to use that. I want to use something a little flossier or something. So I'm not going to do that right now, but I can do his face. Let's see, where'd my pattern go? Just had it. Here it is. Remember what his face looks like. So his face. I'm just going to use this pearl cotton again. It's kind of the size of one piece of floss, but it's more I'm trying to think of the word to use. It's more slick, not slick, but compact maybe. I'm not sure what word to use for that. I'll probably use floss for the mane because it's a little shinier, glossier, and a little thicker. Now, once things are stuffed, I don't want to leave knots all over the back of it. So to hide them, it's just the opposite of burying your thread. I start somewhere besides where it's going to be, and I can even start in the front or the back, it doesn't matter, and go to where what I'm going to stitch is located. So I'm going to work on his cheek. So that's about right here. And it's going to be a satin stitch. So I can either leave this or I can go ahead and pull it up so you don't see it. And then I'm just going to make a small knot right here. Okay, so you can't see where it started. And this is just going to be a little circle. So I'm just going to eyeball it. And the knot's going to be, I made the knot so it would be under the cheek. I'm just sort of eyeballing this to where I think it needs to be. And I'm just going to do a satin stitch, which is just stitches laid right next to each other. And try to make them in a circular shape. And I'm not going to be worried if it's not exactly round. Just kind of is fine. And I did double my thread for this so that it would go faster. Now, I think I'm done with that, so I'm going to go over to where his nose is. I gave him a little cheek. I'm going to do the same thing, only what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make a big French knot. In a French knot, you take a stitch, wrap it around however many times. The more you wrap, the bigger the ball will be. Now I just hold onto my thread and tighten it up and push it down. So there's that. Now I have to make an eye, which is about the same size. Let's see where it is. It's right above the cheek. Ah. So there's his nostril. I don't know why that has to be so difficult to see. Now I'm going to do the same thing, French knot, and make his eye. And the reason and then I wrap it close and then I hold it and pull the thread through, and that way it doesn't tangle as badly most of the time. Sometimes it'll look like this, to where you can see all the wraps, and you just have to pull it and push it down. And that will take care of that. Now, if I want to end my thread, or if I want to knot my thread, what I normally do is I'm going to go whatever's closest to the edge and come out in the middle of the edge. Like that. And then I'm going to hide my knot. There's a little eye. I'm going to hide my knot in the edge at the back. And just make a tiny knot. I'm going around a thread so that I can anchor it a little better, because the edge of felt sometimes is not real solid. So there's my knot, and then I'm going to bury my thread. So I'm going down right beside the knot, through there again, and just coming out down here, pulling that really tight, and it's gone. You really can't see it. I forgot where it was, even up here. No, I don't even know myself. Okay. And then when the thread comes out, if you just pull it a little bit and clip it, it'll go right back in. So he is ready for his mane, and I think I will do the mane last, not only because I don't have the thread here right now, but because I don't want it to be in the way when I'm stitching all these other things on that are going on. So he looks pretty cute. I'm happy with him. I'm still not sure about, I think I want the mane. And I could do him like this. That would work. That's still pretty big. And I would want it to have felt behind it again. So I don't know. I just feel like it's too much. I'll keep thinking about that. We'll have to wait till and see what happens. Okay. So I think that's where I'm going to stop. He's going to obviously get some more. He's going to get some beading. I'm going to bead around here. Probably bead around his hooves, maybe. Obviously, he'll get the mane. And I'm not sure if I might put some sequins down here, just like one line of sequins going around there. I think I might do that. So he has some work to do yet, as do the rest of them. So I'm just going to lay these out here one more time so you can see. Let's move back. So here's the horse, a wreath, a mouse, a cat, and a bear. So there we go. That's all I'm doing on this for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you like it, leave a comment and subscribe. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.